Well, hopefully this one will have some audio. Tried this. My phone really does not like doing this. Really is not fond of recording video and storing it. I don't know what the deal is, because it starts getting all funny afterward. Even when I clear the memory, it starts getting real funny. So I've been really checking out this guy, TIKHistory. I highly recommend his channel. I should just point people straight to the source. He has completed the argument about Gnosticism, the left basically being... I kept saying it was politically... There's kind of this political Gnosticism. They just know they're right. And there's no amount of data, there's no amount of real experience that you could have. Like how I overheard a stupid, fat, liberal white woman here in the Northwest talking once about how there's all these places black people can't go. And I know she's wrong. I mean, I know she just simply has no clue what she's talking about. And she's just a histrionic nut, and was spiraling into further and further unlikable fat woman nuttiness. And that's and this is really something that okay, the Northwest really is a place where sort of there's because you see there's that kind of thing of the Pacific Northwest being this place where there's the last bastion for white people to be white or something like that. But then there's also it had its own problem of a lot of people. It also attracted a lot of really the low lives of white America. And a big part of what you see with the Antifa stuff, Chaz and Chop and all that business, these were just low lives. These were the low lives of the Pacific Northwest, white society. There's really just not that many black people in Oregon to have justified any of that. What this really was people who they needed behavior drugs all their life. They're just weirdos, unironic, unironic leather trench coat in the summer people, and just people who that everything has to, everything has to be sort of this, has to be a lapel pin. There we go. Everything has to be a band shirt or a lapel pin. That kind of end of the culture. So that everyone should feel good. It's a sin to laugh at them fail, but you should laugh at them failing, and you should feel good about it. You should feel really good watching the West Coast Democrat enclaves fail. They like it like this. They like raising their kids to be weirdos. Say one of the things that happens in the Northwest, and you'll meet lots of people. They raise the young man is just upright as a tree, and he's great. But you'll meet a lot of people. They just don't speak loudly. That you have to lean toward them so that they know that you can't hear them. And it's very, very odd. It's something that at first I thought, I had an ex who used to get upset about it. She would be like, well, how don't you hear me? And I'm like, and I kept thinking about it, and I was like, that's actually a good question. What is she doing that I can't hear her? And it's this way she was pitching her voice that it just had almost didn't leave her head, as if she's trying to whisper or something, and or not let her voice carry or something odd like that. But you'll run into behaviors like this in the Northwest. People who won't accelerate, they don't have timing. So they like trying to cross a street sometimes is real weird because people have real weird timing. There's just little odd things like that. But it's so it's these things of like, well, it's the peculiarities of some of the people in the area. But there's to be so awkward all the time. You guys saw that thing where Destiny, was it like this guy was dancing with Destiny's wife, and it turns out Destiny can't dance. Okay, that is the like Northwest liberal, that is like a dog having teeth. A Northwest liberal cannot dance. I don't know what it is. It's really weird. It's a weirdness of the body. It's a discomfort with the body. And some kind of psychosomatic discomfort. And at first it was something I kind of picked up on, like the death of white people doing breakdancing. I knew some of the last dope-ass breakdancers in the area. And it probably still lives on, but it's not like it used to be. Like in the competitive nature of it and the whole thing, it's just not there. While it had become a part of popular culture at some point in the Northwest. But even around like the electronica scene, which I got to get a whiff of, like people were weird. They moved their bodies in weird ways. And people were obviously very uncomfortable with the idea of dancing. So just to celebrate and have music and to have like fun, you could imagine how this was a big deal for the Northwest, and that they would put a lot of money into touring bands. That's the weirdest part. People who love music but can't dance. And so there's something about like, yeah, they're fans, but it never goes it doesn't get into their bones. Boom. That's why I do these. That's the point. Fans, but it never really moves them down to their bones. And so it's a half-heartedness. It ends up translating into a lack of fortitude. So you end up then getting these fleeting fashions of political movements where people are all in for a while on something, and then they're like, well, now I've got some new cause, or I've got other things to do, or it really rings of the like wealthy upstate New York Yankee of like the Victorian era or something, or the Gilded Age or something, bored of all this idealism. It's not practical people. They exist. They do exist. The practical people exist. And there's loads of them. But the Blue Enclaves have sort of these fans that can't dance. And I've been thinking about this a lot, like this lack of genuine. Why does everything feel like it's not authentic, like it's not genuine anymore? Even original music now sounds like some bizarre, grotesque fakery by a robot. It all sounds like fake robot music. So, the Gnosticism thing, the Tick got into this whole thing, and I wanted to touch on. He found the philosophical end of it all. That by ideology, you end up getting, from Nietzsche and Kant and Hegel And then there would be similarities with Schopenhauer and some of these terms and ideas, like what motivates humans, where does the consciousness come from, then translating, for some reason it keeps getting translated then into the political will, and so then he finally ends up at Marx, and it was very good because he got into this whole thing of how it's like people end up having sort of these magical interpretations where they suddenly absolutely know what is right. This is the direct difference. Dyer would point this out, and that's the direct difference between really what you comes naturally. It would be argued this would naturally come from the Protestant tradition. It harkens. That's why it's fundamentally just, it was a way that they could just stick Gnosticism back into Christianity. That is true, because then I knew of all this stuff. I was in all the occultist groups and collecting their works, and there are the Catholic mystic types who are trying to get alchemy and stuff popular, but no, it was the Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians are the ones who, they nailed it. They nailed the thing of Christians being into Kabbalah, and it was their writings and their imagery and all that. And that's a huge part of the French Revolution, was this idea that it was being that the Rosicrucians or the Illuminati Lodge, they are fighting it out through the French Revolution. And so the thing that I end up finding interesting is he started to really see how, like, no, there's definitely this long development that happens of ideas that has to do with that comes out of that it becomes equivalent to Gnosticism. That was what he started to see, that he's like, no, it's that when you start to actually break this down, you start to see that there's sort of this unknown power that only special people can access, only the special people can understand the high morality, and only certain people they've elevated themselves beyond the capitalist racist patriarchy and stuff, and they've read the right books. I mean, that I find it ironic now, the concept of go read a book. And so Dyer would counter with, this would counter with the tradition and wisdom and tradition, where what this is that there's a memory, and it's a living memory, because older humans would be the ones who you would be counting on to tell you about these things that you didn't know about, and that it might not be why people did something and had an admonition against some action at another time might still follow a principle that it makes perfect sense at the present time for you to then, okay, so don't do that. Like, it's bad to unicize people. That's the principle. You should count on it generally being something you shouldn't do, and that it's bad. Even though people are telling you it's the latest thing and all the kids are doing it. No, don't do that. It's bad. Don't unicize people. So, check out, because he got into how this affected the Third Reich and Adolf Hitler, and he was absolutely right. From everything I found, Baron von Sabotendorf, the group that he was a part of, when he took those ideas and made them into the foundation for the Thule, which then later Hitler took over with his bunch, that these were Gnostic ideas. This was, like, admittedly Rosicrucian alchemical Gnostic ideas from the Bektashi Sufis, openly, as all of you saw that I read in that one book. So Tick came out he figured it out from another direction, which took much more work. And while I'm like, no, all of these highly intellectual, holding multiple degrees people, they needed some kind of outlet for this new religion of theirs, and these ideas that would have countered all Christian ideas, and would have gone then also, as Tick pointed out, against Aristotelian logic and reason. And that's a big part of it. That's why their writings come across as so hard to deal with. Where Sabotendorf's, it's interesting because so much of Sabotendorf's work is just the formula, just what do you do and why. I thought it was unique. His work is unique in that. Okay, there's some thoughts later.